and welcome to my channel. Some of you might recognize the room that I'm in right now. This is the room where I filmed my first YouTube video, where the first probably year of my channel existed was in this corner right here. So I'm in Philadelphia right now. I just finished filming something in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey, and I'm packing up what's left here because we found out that this is not going to be the apartment that we're moving into in August when we come back to Philly. So I'm back here to pack up the things that we left. And if you'll excuse that truck backing up, I guess I've just been really thoughtful lately. And I don't mean like thoughtful, like, oh, I'm so deep. Like, I've been thinking a lot lately. I've had a lot of time to travel, had a lot of time sitting places and just thinking thoughts. And I recently read a beautiful book called 6 Walks in the Footsteps of Henry David Thoreau by Ben Shattuck. And it's about transcendentalist literature. And if you're not aware of what transcendentalist literature is, I encourage you to Google it. It's long and lengthy, and there's people more intelligent than me that have described what it is. But that book really got me thinking about the way that we view life and the way that we view the world and the way that we view ourselves. And so I guess a part of me wanted to make this video because I'm really tired of the algorithm. I'm tired of putting a lot of effort into a video and it gets 250, 500 views. When other videos that I made have over 90,000. And here's what I mean by that. I'm not upset about the people that don't watch it. That's not what's bothering me. What bothers me is that I look at these videos that I put this work into that have 250 views, that have 500 views, and I get upset that they only have that many compared to my other things. And I don't get excited about the fact that 500 of you decided to take some time and enjoy something that I made. 500 is a lot. 250 is a lot. 10 is a lot of people willing to give their time to watch something that you make. So I'm tired of the algorithm telling my brain that it's not enough, that we're not going far enough. And it's not just the algorithm here on YouTube. It's only getting X number of likes on an Instagram post, or so many retweets, or all of those things, of having videos suggested to me on YouTube that I'm gonna watch and then just look for the next video. And I'm tired of the algorithm. And I'm saying capital T, capital A, the algorithm. I'm tired of the algorithm of life, of being told that what we're here to do is to be born and go to school, and then we're gonna graduate and we're gonna work for 50 years every day for someone sitting in an office that we don't know, who's then gonna be replaced by someone else sitting in that same office that we're never gonna meet, and then one day we'll just retire. And that's not what life is about. It's just not what it's about. And I love what I do. I love acting, I love screenwriting, I love directing, I love YouTube. I'm so lucky to do what I love. But the reasons I have for not going into this were so many, and it's so easy for me to slip back into thinking that it would have been right to not do it because this is hard. And maybe it's the right thing to do because it's hard. But I'm shooting off the cuff here, but we're meant to do more than just live as people. Like, life is not about clocking in at 40 hours a week. That's not what it's about. And I'm not saying go quit your job or whatever. I'm not gonna judge you if you do, but I'm not saying to do that. I'm just saying, like, life is about seeing the first tulip of spring. You know what I mean? Like that's what life is about. Life is about waiting at a train station and hearing someone on a different platform laugh. Like, that's beautiful because something sparked joy. You know what I mean? Like, life is about getting lost in the pages of a book and living someone else's life. Life is about sitting around a table with a bunch of people you just met, eating pizza and then going back out to film some more. Life is about all of those things. those things that spark joy, that give meaning, because like work is not inherently meaning, and busyness is not inherently meaning. And I guess I'm just really tired of when people ask me how I am. My answer, they say, how are you? And I say, I'm busy. And then we talk about the things that we're doing, and that's not how I am. That's what I'm doing. If they ask what I'm doing, I should say, I'm filming this, I'm getting ready to work on this play, I'm working on these screenplays. How am I doing? The answer is usually, I'm good. Are we good? What does that mean? What does good mean? It's not just, I'm happy. It's deeper than that. Are you ecstatic? Are you joyful? Are you content? Like there's so many deeper words that we can find if we just dig deeper in ourselves. And I'm not criticizing us, I'm criticizing the world that has told us that you have to be X plus X plus X equals Y, because that's not what anything is. No one knows anything. I don't know anything. I don't know why you're watching this right now. I have nothing to add, and yet everything. And life, to me, the meaning of life, gets down to trying to understand the meaning of life. Like, that's what the meaning of life is trying to understand why we're here, who we are, what this all means. That's what life is about. That's what makes us human, is that we're willing to take this physical world, touch this carpet, touch our skin, look at the walls around us and go, there's something else here. And we've for thousands of years, we've given that different names. I'm a Christian, I know what I call that. A person that's Muslim calls it something else. A person who's an atheist calls it something else. But we all, there's something past this. Even if you think we are just here to live and to die, and that is our purpose. And there's a beautiful simplicity in that is incredible. But there's still something more while you're alive. There's something extra here. And to me, that's about going deep in the forest and looking at boulders and giant trees and not being able to hear cars and not being able to hear anything else but the birds and the wind and the leaves, and looking up and feeling so small and so unimportant, so inconsequential, that I truly don't matter. As Ben Shattuck said when we went to his book reading with his wife, the actress Jenny Slate, who's also brilliant and so insightful, and they both shared some really incredible thoughts, and I was really, really grateful to talk to them after. And it just kind of echoed a lot of what I've been kind of processing lately, that nature doesn't care about us. It was here before us, it'll be here after. And we are inconsequential. Nature is impassive. The boulder does not notice when you walk by. And I love that. Because I can go to this place where I do not matter, where I am small, where it does not notice my existence, and I can stand there and feel so tiny, so limited, and understand that beyond all of that, people choose to love me. That I am worthy of love, even though I don't matter. People give me meaning. People say that I matter. And that's what life is. And maybe it's because we've all been locked inside for 2 years. Maybe it's because the internet tells us that our value is assigned based on points and based on, XYZ. And maybe it's because I work in an industry where random people on the internet can just reach out and tell me that I have no talent. Or maybe it's because I grew up in a small town in Ohio and now I live in cities, and maybe it's because I've moved a bunch of times in the last 10 years and so I don't really have a place that I'm really calling home. And maybe it's just because I ate a lot of mashed potatoes as a kid and that's finally catching up with me. I don't know, but whatever it is, I just think we need to lean into the moreness. I think we need to lean into the ambiguity. I think we need to lean into the fact that love is not a noun, it's a verb. It's a choice. And we can love, and we can love well. And I've been planning on making this video for a long time. And I don't want to get too into current events, because hopefully people watch this in a couple years and, you don't know everything that's happened. But especially lately, there's just been some things in the news that have reminded me that what we have here on this planet is not an extraordinary length of time. It's a blip. It's just that. But it's the longest thing we'll ever do. I was in Quincy, Illinois with Dave Croner. I've told this story on a YouTube video before, and we were at some old Native American mounds that they had built on the shores of the Mississippi. And Dave and I were standing there, and we were just looking at it, and there was a sign that said that the first people had arrived there 12,000 years ago. And I was blown away by the fact that I was standing where someone had stood 12,000 years ago. 12,000 years. 500 years ago, I don't have the exact stat in front of me, but I don't think people knew dinosaurs existed. Maybe 250 years ago. I don't know when dinosaurs were discovered, but they didn't know they existed. They didn't know they existed. That's wild. And yet 12,000 years ago, someone was standing right there looking at that grass, just like I was. And that's incredible to me. Just that sense of place and belonging, and yet of almost not apathy, but just like, this place is going to be here past me, and yet now I'm a part of its history. Maybe that grass will remember me. Maybe it won't. And maybe the mystery of whether or not it will, the mystery of whether or not grass is sentient, the mystery of whether or not the only thing that's ever going to remain is the smell of that grass that I will carry with me. And then when I die, that will be gone, and that moment will fade into nothingness. And maybe that still gives it inherent meaning. And maybe it's all just about having meaning when we can. Maybe it's about people telling me that I won my cancer battle because I don't have it anymore, because I'm in remission. But no, I won my cancer battle because I told my cancer that I was going to go on without it. And I've lost people I love dearly to cancer, but none of them lost their battles. Every one of them won because they didn't give up. And we can't give up on anything. We can't give up because love is a verb. Because love is meaning. Love is assigning meaning to someone, meaning that you don't understand. Someone that you've just met, someone you've known a long time. That's what life is about. The Appalachian Mountains is a place that I've spent a lot of time just walking through the woods. I used to think they were boring because they're just rolling green hills, the Appalachian Mountains here in the United States, but they're so ancient that part of them exists on the other side of the world because they were formed when the continents were all together. And when I learned that the only fossils you can find are coral because the Appalachian Mountains existed before animals, that I'm a part of the legacy of something. And that whether you believe it's by design or by chance, or whether like me, you just don't quite know, whatever the reason here is, that we're here, that we're existing, that we're living and breathing and taking buses and buying Laffy Taffy at the Wawa and reading Calvin and Hobbes and playing with toy lightsabers in our backyard and going to Little League baseball games and spending time going out into the trees and wasting hours sitting in front of a TV because you just really want to beat The Witcher 3, and spending money so we can take a picture with someone who pretends to be someone else for money. The reason we do all those things is because just by chance we're here and we're just trying to find meaning in everything. And I think that that's beautiful. I think it's dangerous, and I think it's scary, and I think it's hard, and I think it's beautiful. And that's really all I have to say. So I really the reason I haven't posted any videos in a bit, and the reason I may not for a bit, I'm getting ready to start rehearsals for Pippin, which I'm very excited about. But I also just really want to not be in the algorithm. I want to write my own. I want to not be worried about how many people are watching a YouTube video, because if even one person watches a YouTube video and smiles once, then my job is done. Because if I can teach you anything, if I can make you laugh, then that means, I've met some of you who told me that during the pandemic, I made you feel like you had a friend there with you. And that even now almost brings me to tears to think about, because that's, like, there is no greater honor than that. And I'm tired of feeling like it's not enough. I want to live in the beauty and the futility of the concept of enough, as we used to say at Jacob's Porch, the church I used to work for in Columbus, Ohio. Like, there's a beauty in the concept of enough, that I am enough without clicks, without views, without subscriber numbers, without tweet likes, without any of those things. I am inherently enough because I exist. I am enough. And yet there's a futility of enough, that we are chasing enough, and that's beautiful, to try to chase the concept of being enough, to try to chase the concept of being better, of improving, of getting somewhere. There's a futility in that, because you're going to get somewhere and then you're going to go, okay, what's next? And it's never going to be enough. And yet, that's the beauty of it. That's the futility of it. And we have to live in the tension of that. I don't know. And I know, I've seen the comments of people being like, I don't know if he's being real because he's an actor. Guys, I'm not. It's so exhausting to be on all the time. I can't act full time. I can't. I gotta know who I am. You can't be a good actor if you don't know who you are. And I think a lot of people get into acting because they don't know who they are, and they're trying to find that out. And that's great. That's something that is beautiful to do. It's a great place to discover yourself. But lately, in my thoughts, in forests, and on planes, and sitting on the beach, and sitting in my office, and sitting in corners of coffee shops, and sitting on trains, I've found myself in corners of my mind that I hadn't gone to yet, and around the bends of trees, and looking out at the ocean in a lighthouse from the window of a metal tube that's shooting across the ground, or a different metal tube that's being thrown across the sky in a battle with gravity, that we've achieved so many incredible things, and I keep finding myself in these little moments. And Jenny Slate, when she was giving her talk, she talked about how those little moments can make her sad. She's not quite sure why they make her sad or what that means, and I get that. And I think that sadness is important to hold, and I think that the little moments of joy are important to hold. And I think it's important, like Henry David Thoreau said, nature's in, a butterfly, that it's in a little grain of sand that you're studying. He loved the micro, and I love the macro. I love the big forests. I love the canyons. I love the waterfalls. You guys have seen where I go. Like, I love that too. But I think what we're really trying to do is find ourselves in those places. And those places, what those places are, is light being brought into our eyes and reflecting around, and then being shot up through electric signals into our brains. And so still, even though we're finding ourselves at a waterfall, we're still finding ourselves in our own head, and our understanding of that place and where we are and what we brought there. Because someone else, the exact same age as me, from the exact same town as me, that's at that waterfall, is having a different relationship with that waterfall in that moment than I am, because they are bringing their own fears, their own hopes, their own everything, and staring at gallons and gallons of water just launching itself off the side of a cliff. And that is going to be different for everyone, and that is why God is in nature. That is why whatever else there is exists in this thin veil between our physical world and that, because we are assigning meaning to this thing that is impartial, this waterfall that does not know we are there, but it does. And right now, as I'm sitting in an empty apartment in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, there are people hiking in Yellowstone, and there are people sitting in an airport in Doha, and there are people boarding a train in Boston, and people that are, people working the front counter at McDonald's in Louisiana. Like, there's people doing things, and we're all doing those things at the same time, but we don't even think about it because we're not there. And then you see somebody somewhere, and you're like, how did you get here? What's your story? And I get to tell stories, and I'm kind of ranting now, but I've been thinking a lot, and I really want to encourage you guys to think. Put on a film score and just sit there for a little bit and think. Go to nature and listen to the wind and the trees, and think about how similar that sounds to the waves hitting the ocean, and how similar roots are to our veins. And think about what it means to be a part of this messy tapestry that we call life, and how beautiful that is, and how the value of that is not in a click. It's not in a like. It's not in an upvote. It's in that moment. And even if you take a picture, even if you film a video, that's not going to be what remains. What remains is what is in your head, is the feeling that you had, is the smell of the dirt, or the feel of the sun bouncing up off the sidewalk the first time you walk into Times Square. That's what it is. It's the feeling. And I just really encourage you guys to go find that. Thanks for watching.